We're calling this meeting to order. This is a City Council regular meeting. We're in the Mon County Commission Chambers, 243 High Street. It's Tuesday, January 16th, 2024. It's 7:10, and we're calling the meeting to order and asking the clerk if she would please call the roll.
Mayor Buganum.
Present.
Bill Kowecki.
Here.
Weezy Michael.
Here.
Danielle Trumbull.
Here.
Dave Hartsbarger.
Here.
Brian Butcher.
Here.
And Mayor Sleen.
Here. Now we're going to stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we have a couple of sets of minutes this evening. We have the December 19th, 2023 regular meeting minutes and January 2nd, 2023 regular meeting minutes. We'd like to approve by acclamation.
There's just
Yes,
one little edit
Please.
on mine on the December 9th. Instead of MRTC, it was just typo MCTC. So it was the Mon River Trail Conservancy that was the referenced on the December 9th minutes in my address.
perfect.
Or December 19th, sorry.
Is there anything else? All right, and by acclamation, both of them. Correspondence. We have a new deputy police chief in our midst. So this is the introduction and oath of office for Deputy Police Chief Christopher Rumer. So tell us how this is done.
So I'll just start by maybe doing a brief introduction, giving you some background on Deputy Chief Reamer. He, sorry, I don't mean to.
No, he's
correct
on
you.
your other side. That's
Oh,
what
is
we're
he?
laughing. Nothing that you said.
Chris comes to us from the Cincinnati Police Department, where he served well over 30 years with that department. And in that capacity, he served in many roles. He's had stints from everything from records to tactical operations to being the lead in the formation of human trafficking squad, or that was started by the attorney's office there. His master's and bachelor's, a bachelor's of liberal arts, a master's in criminal justice from Xavier University. He is a member of PERF. He's a member of the NA Associates, which is sort of comes from his experience going through the FBI National Academy. I think all said and done, he possesses everything you could possibly want in a deputy chief, with his background, experience, and a variety of roles within any police organization. And I just want to say we're very proud that he applied, and we're very proud that he accepted our offer for the position. I think he is going to be an invaluable asset to the Morgantown Police Department. Just in speaking with him personally, he just embodies everything that you would want in a police professional. He is very personable, and he's the right person for the job. So with that being said, I'll let him speak a little bit if he'd like, and then we'll get to the swearing in.
Thank you, Chief. Madam Mayor, members of council, Manager Haas, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be here. I am very excited to come to Morgantown to help advance and champion the Chief's goals and objectives, as well as serve the citizens of Morgantown, and do that through the lens of the police department's missions and values. And so I'm really excited to be here. I'm really excited to get started. I'm humbled to have been chosen for the position, and thank you very much.
I wanted to say one thing before you did that. I just wanted to say that Morgantown has always taken a lot of pride in our police department, and it's been known over time for innovation from dealing with university and different crowd control measures. And I remember the chief at one point showing Ron Delaney and I all the different backpacks and different ways that they had learned how to do crowd control and that they had worked with other departments on that. To the soft interview room that was something that the force came up with themselves, so that there was a good place to bring someone that had trauma. To all the other different things that they've dealt with over the years. So I'm very appreciative that you're willing to join our force, and would like to welcome you on behalf of City Council.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You want me up there, Heather?
You totally won. You're okay.
Christopher Lehman.
As Deputy Police Chief for the Morgantown Police Department, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, the state of West Virginia, and the city of Morgantown against all enemies, both foreign and domestic, and I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties as Deputy Chief of Police for the Morgantown Police Department according to the laws of the state of West Virginia and the charter of the city of Morgantown, to the best of my skills and abilities. My duty is to serve the people I swear to protect, to safeguard and preserve life, and to maintain proficiency in police service. I will lead my police department to the best of my ability. I will at all times respect the property and rights of all. I accept the badge of my office as a symbol of public faith and trust, and I will remain true to the ethics of the police service. As a member of the Morgantown Police Department, I accept this obligation as my responsibility and make these promises so solemnly, freely, and upon my honor. Subscribed and sworn to before me in said city and state the 16th day of January 2024. Congratulations.
Thank
and
you.
welcome.
Mayor, can we welcome the Deputy Chief?
Yeah. Do you want to go on down and
I
give him a
do.
good handshake?
I do.
So now we are on to some public hearings. There's 4 public hearings. Each of these is not the public session that'll be held later. And they are an opportunity for people who are interested in saying something regarding that specific topic at this time. So the first one is an ordinance providing for the zoning declassification of certain parcels of real estate in the 7th Ward of the City of Morgantown, Tax District 15, Tax Map 62, commonly known as 501 Van Voris Road, from professional residential and office pro district to R3 multifamily residential district, amending Article 1331 of the Planning and Zoning Code of the City of Morgantown as shown on the exhibit hereto attached and declared to be a part of this ordinance as if the same were fully set forth herein. So just this item, we're going to open a public hearing if anyone is wishing to speak. So this is regarding 501 Van Voris Road. Seeing no one, we're going to close the session. We're going to move on to item B, an ordinance providing for the zoning reclassification of certain parcels of real estate from the 5th Ward, City of Morgantown, per Exhibit A from R1A Single Family Residential District and R2 Single and Two Family Residential District to a B1 Neighborhood Business District, amending Article 1331 of the Planning and Zoning Code of the City of Morgantown, as shown in the Exhibit B hereto attached, and declared to be part of this ordinance as if the same were fully set forth herein. So we're going to open this particular public hearing. If there's anyone wishing to speak on this topic? Welcome.
Hi, for those of you that don't know me, I know I met a few of you before. I'm the student body president at WVU. I've been talking with a few, with Ron Justice and Russell here about this project, along with a few of other members of student government. And on behalf of the students that I've talked to, which has been a very positive reaction about this project, that it's a value to the students of Morgantown, especially the future ones. I know this is a Morgantown project, not a WVU one, but I think it can bring immense recruitment opportunities even to continue to grow the area that students will be in, as well as after opportunities for students to stay in the state of West Virginia and to stay in our community, and other opportunities as someone who's lived downtown all 4 years. I'm a senior this year. I think there's a lot of potential for different amenities to be in that area that'll be really beneficial to students and give a lot of and just everyone around that area. As well as integrate the students into the community of Morgantown. I know I've talked to Mayor Seelan about that before. Anything around that area is always helpful. I know there's potential for different events and things, and be a place where you can stay for half of a whole day. And I know sometimes it feels very separate as a Morgantown citizen versus a WVU student. I think that's a good way for them to potentially be integrated, especially for the downtown area, to have places that are so walkable. I live at Central Place. It'd be just a few minutes to walk down there. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, did we get her name?
Appreciate your comments. Pardon?
Did we get her name?
No.
And I think you need that for the record.
Okay. Would you step forward one more time? And if somebody else is wanting to speak, you can come. Okay. Okay.
Do you have my name?
Yes.
Madison, Madison, and then Santmeyer, Santmyer.
Appreciate it. So same thing, if you'd make sure she can spell your name and.
Hi, my name is Garrett Osler, Garrett. Osler, Oursler.
Thank you.
And I'm another student from the student government. I'm a Davis College senator, and I'm very much interested in this project. Just like Madison said, we've talked to many students about this, and all have had very good reactions when it comes to this, and we're interested in this project. I'm studying like environmental sciences, and from a new way to possibly manage stormwater or other like beneficial, sustainable actions, I think this project could have really great opportunities for rain gardens and pollinator spaces as well as like on the outside of the buildings. So I think it would be a great project for the city of Morgantown to look into, and we just wanted to talk about that today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Oh, is this on? Yeah, okay. My name's Haley Day. It's Hayley, and then Day, Day. And I'm also here with the Student Government Association. I know you guys have seen me before. I'm the local governance liaison, but I'm here with Madison and Garrett, and we've been working closely with Russ and Ron and the Morgantown Area Partnership about this project. And when it was brought forth to us, I just couldn't imagine the potential that this has for growth in the Morgantown community, especially as our current administration and SGA has been focusing on retention and recruitment at WVU, and we think that this would be a great opportunity, not only for students that are living here through multiple academic years, but we're really focused on keeping students here after they graduate and making Morgantown a place that they can call home. And so I think that this has like endless and boundless opportunity and growth, expansion, whether that be economically, business-wise, creating new experiences for residents. I think that that's something that we look forward to, and I wanted to say that I support the zoning reclassification and that I believe the project's in good hands, and I trust that through collaborative efforts, the city and the Morgantown Area Partnership and everyone else who's involved on this project, I think we can make it something great. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? We're going to close this public portion, this specific public hearing. The next item is an ordinance authorizing the purchase of property in the First Ward District, Morgantown, Monongalia County, from the Merit Development Incorporated. We're going to open this public hearing. Welcome.
Hi, Peter Wenzel again. Live on South High Street, right across from the fire station. So we're discussing this because 2 weeks ago we discussed the relocation as to the Prairie and Don Knotts Boulevard spot as a potential spot for the new fire station. I don't think any of us are in disagreement that the fire station needs to be upgraded and probably moved because it's small. But we did disagree with the assessment that the assistant city manager made. She gave a rather hasty assessment of why it was the best spot in Morgantown for the new fire station. And I think that none of us really agreed with that, at least those of us who were listening, that there wasn't an assessment on whether it would worsen congestion on Don Knotts Boulevard, which is already congested. There wasn't really a study about response times and how it would make response times longer. It certainly would make response times to my house longer. There was also a lot of talk about the cost and how mitigating the land from environmental concerns, because it used to be a service station and there's a body shop and there's some environmental concerns. Other spots had environmental concerns as well, but they seem to be equal. And when you factor in that a gas line has to be removed from this Prairie Avenue spot, that there's a lot of excavating that needs to be done on the Prairie Avenue spot, none of that seemed to be factored into the cost. So when you would put it head to head with, say, the car wash, which is flat, I feel like the fancy fire department architects that you all talked about and seemed very excited about could do just as good a job on a flat piece of property that's nearly the same size, that doesn't require as much mitigation or excavating. So that wasn't really considered. Certainly when I talked privately to firefighters, they did not seem to feel that they had really been included in the vetting process for this. And certainly when you talk to my neighbors and me, nobody was included in this process. So we're asking you to slow this process down and do a proper vetting job. It's the least that can be done. And the final thing is, no one discussed what is going to happen to the current fire department location. What's going to go there? What is going to be appropriate for a residential neighborhood? What is going to add to that neighborhood? What legacy can you all here provide that will make that neighborhood stronger, economically more diverse? Certainly not a parking authority. What's that going to do for the neighbors' property values? None of this has been talked about. We have heard none of it. And if it has been talked about, why can we not find that information out, despite requests to all of you about this? So we're asking to slow this process down. We're asking to be included in the process and do this in a sensible way that really makes our neighborhood, First Ward, Chancery Hill, a better place. And really, if we're talking about it, making Morgantown a better, stronger city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Okay. Do not see anyone at this time. We're going to close this public portion. Item D, an ordinance suspending enforcement of subsection E and J of section 1331.0627 of the city code. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this item? I'm going to close this. Now we're on to unfinished business. Consideration of approval of a second reading of an ordinance providing for the zoning reclassification of certain parcels of real estate in the 7th Ward of the City of Morgantown. Tax District 15, Tax Map 62, commonly known as 501 Van Voorst Road, from professional, residential, and office Pro District to R3, Multifamily Residential District, amending Article 1331 of the Planning and Zoning Code of the City of Morgantown, as shown in the exhibit hereto attached and declared to be a part of this ordinance as if the same were fully set forth herein. The first reading was 12/5/2023. And if we could ask the planner to come forward and just give us a brief synopsis, because this has been covered a few times.
Yes, good evening, Mayor. Good evening, members of council. Good evening, City Manager Haas. The applicant desires to rezone the property to permit a dwelling mixed-use facility known as Friendship Manor, and to allow that mixed-use facility to accommodate a hospice care center. And as we discussed in the zoning code, we do not have a specific use classification, so the next closest thing is a nursing home facility, and those are not permitted in the Pro District. Hence, when the Planning Commission looked at this issue, they recommended approval of the proposed rezoning from Pro to R3, and then obviously it was moved to your all's council agenda, and it was approved at that meeting. In accordance with West Virginia State Code, a public hearing and second reading is required in order to amend the city's zoning map, and staff requests approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you. And then if anyone had any further questions on this matter?
I don't have
Comments.
questions. I just
Yeah,
want to make
comments.
it known that the Planning Commission has asked for staff to look at the Pro District and the allowed uses in that. And we did begin that process at the January meeting. So the Pro zone is likely to undergo some changes soon, but I think this is a good solution for this particular instance.
Does anyone else have any?
I did see that there was a workshop. Yes. And my understanding is that that was just the beginning, that we're going to be much more comprehensive.
Yes, it was just, do we think Pro should stay? Should it completely go away? Should we just change it? It was essentially a conversation with Director Yeager, and I expect our next commission meeting to have a little more in-depth look at it.
Very good. I look forward to it.
All right. Any more comments before we ask the clerk to take the roll? All right. If you would take the roll.
Deputy Mayor Abuganim,
Yes.
Bill Koecki,
Yes.
Weezy Michael,
Yes.
Daniel Trumbull,
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger,
Yes.
Brian Butcher,
Yes.
and Mayor Celine.
Yes, passes unanimously. Item B, consideration of approval of a second reading of an ordinance providing for the zoning reclassification of certain parcels of real estate in the 5th Ward of the City of Morgantown, per Exhibit A from R1A, Single Family Residential District, and R2, Single and Two-Family Residential District, to a B1 Neighborhood Business District, amending Article 1331 of the Planning and Zoning Code, City of Morgantown, as shown in the Exhibit B hereto attached, and declared to be part of this ordinance as if the same were fully set forth herein. And the first reading was 12/5/2023. And if our planner would once again come to the podium.
Good evening again. Just to summarize, the Planning Commission held a public hearing in November on this issue and moved forward a recommendation to rezone 55 parcels of property along Richwood Avenue from their respective zoning districts to a B1. The zoning map amendment was then moved to City Council's regular meeting agenda for first reading in December 5th. And to comply with West Virginia State Code, a public hearing and second reading is required to amend the city's zoning map, and staff requests approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. And then, are there any questions or comments of any kind?
One comment here.
Yes, please.
As we move forward on this, I'm pleased to see that the university and I guess what your organization is involved in this. I hope that you will continue and watch it as it grows and make sure that we're on the right course. Thank you.
Pass the baton to the next guys when you all graduate. Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else wishing to say anything?
I'm happy to see that the Student Government Association took the time to come out on such a cold and crappy evening to have their voices heard. I think that that's a demographic that we haven't necessarily heard from yet. I do think it's worth saying something that no one from the neighborhood came out this evening, whether that's good or bad, I'm not sure. We talked about this early on, and several of my neighbors were concerned, this isn't for the neighborhood, this is for the university. And we heard, no, the neighborhood, it's gonna be neighborhood businesses. This is what, these are gonna be things that the neighborhood, and you know, the college students are adults too. We use a lot of the same kind of services, to be clear. But I'm disappointed that not more Woodburn and surrounding neighborhood people came out. I'm still getting comments about this nearly, I won't say daily. I get several comments a week. People wanting to talk about this, wanting to learn more about it. I still have plenty of concerns about housing and the affordability of housing, and what this will do to the neighborhood and traffic and our infrastructure. I will say that the partnership has reached out to me, and we've had a couple of additional get-togethers and discussions about it since the first reading, when I expressed a lot more concerns than I'm expressing now, I think. But I would again just like to say that I hope it's great that they've had meetings with the Student Government Association. I do hope they will continue to include the neighborhood in decisions in what's happening there, and include more of, city council. I've asked them many times, bring us along with you. Don't tell us what's going to happen. We want to be involved. We are very much stakeholders in this area, and just reminding you all that the neighborhood would like to stay involved. So.
Let me just
Yes.
chime in too and say, I totally agree. We definitely want the student input, but we also realize that this is Morgantown and neighborhoods. Your concerns are concerns that we all share, and we do hope that this is done in a proper manner and will benefit the city and help with the retention of students and give you a place to come to and live
Certainly.
when you graduate and stay.
Yes, come back and visit your development.
No, they're gonna live there. They're gonna stay. Haley's got like
One
3
of you
more
has to be a
degrees she wants to
designee.
get.
So, as far as neighbors being here, I think sometimes people get meeting fatigue, and
Certainly,
they've come there 1, 2, or 3 times to the different meetings, and sometimes by the last meeting, they're not here, but they're watching from home, and they're, as you say, wanting to be included in the next steps, and still very interested, but just didn't make it out on a particular really cold evening. So
I just don't want the partnership gentleman or the development authority to take the absence as complacency.
all right. Well, I appreciate all the work that's gone into this project, both from public participation side and development side. The Development Authority sticking their neck pretty far out. The partnership working on it, the city, county, and university anteing in, the fact that this is a large project that has shown that we can all work together in some ways, even if there's a lot of discussion that needs to take place to make it work, and that we're moving forward, and there can be redevelopment in the city, which is a really important thing to show and actually do. So I appreciate everyone's efforts and all the work that went into it, and the thought that has gone into the comments by the public and by the council members who have worked on this as well and supported it. So anyway, is there anyone else who's wishing to speak? Otherwise, if you would please call the roll.
Deputy Mayor Bugonum,
Yes.
Bill Kowecki,
Yes.
Weezy Michael,
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull,
Another reluctant yes.
Dave Harshbarger,
Yes.
Brian Butcher,
No.
and Mayor Celine.
A fully wholehearted yes. Just to have a little contrast around here. All right, item C, consideration of approval of a second reading of an ordinance authorizing the purchase of property in the First Ward District, Morgantown, Monongalia County, from the Merritt Development Company. The first reading was 1/2/2024. And the manager wanted to make some comments.
Thank you. In absence of the assistant city manager who was the spearhead on this particular project, certainly has kept me updated and apprised of everything going on throughout the process. Just as a backdrop, once again, the city received $6 million of congressionally directed spending for a replacement fire station for the South High Fire Station. Thanks to Senators Capito and Manchin, the city and the Morgantown Fire Department worked to evaluate existing versus new locations. And if I remember right, there were 5 locations that were evaluated and considered, and a site to consider sites that were large enough to accommodate a modern fire response vehicles as well as crew sizes that we anticipate. Remember, we're building for 50 years, and we have to anticipate future growth and what that looks like. The city worked together to evaluate these things. Along with the fire department, the city identified the location that is being proposed at the corner of Don Knotts and Prairie Avenue. And however, due to CDBG or CDS funding, which is federal funding, and there are always strings attached to those, we certainly are going to be required to do a SHPO study as well as the tribal review and environmental review and other reviews. The acquisition of the property itself would come out of capital escrow that the city has already set aside. The property that we're looking at now is larger and offers a unique site layout that was appealing to the chief and to others that were involved in that decision-making process. It certainly allows the quickest access to Don Knotts, which allows coverage of that part of the community, which is not just business but also residential. And it backs up to Deckers Creek, which helps ensure lack of future encroachment. The other positive thing about the property is that it's tiered, and there have been some comments made about how much dirt work would need to be made. Some of that dirt work would be mitigated or minimized because of a tiered approach that we're talking about, which would then allow access to what they call a clean area, instead of going through the garage bays to have to take care of business. They'd be able to enter from another level, which would not be available at other sites. Therefore, it's certainly administration's recommendation. We feel that there's been a good study of the entire process, that this site be purchased by the city for a long-term planning for a new fire station at South High. Thank
Great.
you.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. And then, any sort of questions or comments or concerns?
I have questions. I was not here at the first reading, my first city council meeting that I missed when I wasn't away on city business. I was away on fun. I noted as Manager Hawes was discussing or giving the synopsis, you said the site layout was approved, or, it was attractive, I guess, to others involved in the decision-making process besides the chief. Who was involved in the decision-making process on this?
I know that when I say fire department, I know the chief was, and some of his captains were. I just don't know how extensively that went down through the ranks.
Okay.
I think 5 or 6 others or something,
Mhm.
the assistant manager mentioned. They were all invited at various points to participate, and then some came and some didn't come.
I have been reached out to by many members of the fire department over the last couple of weeks since the I guess the press release came out that we were looking at this property, and for whatever reason, they don't necessarily feel that they were included in the process. I was told that, like, the very initial meeting or two, there were a few more involved, but after that, the invitations kind of dropped off, and it was mostly the chief in my understanding. So I have concerns that not enough of that stakeholder group was engaged throughout the process. I also had questions, I guess maybe for the deputy mayor. Was this a topic of discussion at a First Ward neighborhood meeting or anything at any time?
Not that I'm aware of, because it wasn't really announced until January. And we had switched our neighborhood meetings to quarterly. So it wasn't a topic of discussion. But I have had residents reach out to me. The emails that I've gotten short of the gentleman here this evening were in support of the fire station moving. So.
Okay. I guess my only other, well, maybe not my only other issue, but another concern that I have is the environmental remediation and the cost of that as we move forward. We're essentially taking the power to look at that cost and make a final decision on that cost from council and putting it on administration when we have no idea. I've never heard any kind of ballpark on what that cost is going to be, or what the environmental studies have shown I mean, aside from any kind of traffic study or impact study, anything like that. I do have an issue with, I feel like there are a lot of unknowns for me to sign off on the purchase of this, not because I'm necessarily against this location or against the fire station moving. I just feel like there's a lot of unknowns that I'm not comfortable with at this point.
So in terms of the environmental remediation, that study's not been conducted yet,
no.
right? And it's part of what, I think as far as traffic and response time, that we did have a pretty comprehensive idea of how that would be affected, but yeah, so is there a way for us to be involved in what it might look like after we understand what remediation might cost, Kim, or?
The car wash site
Yeah.
is, we know is gonna
Yeah.
require some remediation. We just don't know how much, and until we get in actually complete studies related to those types of environmental, you never know. I mean, I've been involved with environmental remediation where you had to dig down 150 feet, and the cost is tremendous, right? Well, that could be the case on any one of the 5 sites. We just don't know until we get in and actually start doing the studies. And I'm not sure that until one of the concerns is until we nail down the purchase of the property, I'm not sure how wise it would be for the city to spend thousands of dollars for the remediation study. So I think it's just kind of a chicken and the egg kind of thing. I do believe, and maybe our city attorney can answer this, in terms of the actual purchase, is it contingent on the completion of environmental reviews?
Yes, it is. The city's purchase agreement has a contingency for inspections and feasibility studies, one of which is environmental review. The city has retained consultants to conduct a Phase 1 site assessment, which reviews the historical use of the property and determines whether there may be contaminants. That study was completed and showed the evidence of historical uses that or that are associated with contaminants, as well as remediation and a no further action letter by an owner of the property, and recommended a Phase 2 to ensure that any contaminants were consistent with current levels in the city's planned use. They have conducted the borings to undertake that study, and the city will receive the results of it.
Do you have a timeline on how long that might take?
It will be completed before the end of February.
And the final price will be based on those findings, right?
The city and the buyer, or the city and the seller rather, have agreed on a final price. If the city's environmental investigation finds that the property isn't fit for its intended use due to environmental conditions, there's a process by which they can talk with the seller about what remediation is required, and either negotiate, or the parties can walk away and move on.
So can I ask a logistical question about that? We've agreed to a selling price with the buyer, or with the seller, or the buyer, sorry. If that study comes back with a number that maybe I'm uncomfortable with, who makes, if we approve this now on second reading, that is then that remediation cost, and whether it's within our threshold or above what we're comfortable with, is then made by administration when they execute the purchase documents, correct? That would not come back to City Council for consideration.
No further action by City Council would be needed. Now, the Phase 2 environmental study doesn't assign a cost to remediation. It just determines whether you may need some. But it's true that this is the action that council needs to take to approve a property acquisition. An ordinance must be adopted for the city to acquire property, so it's a necessary step in the process. But the city management would then be empowered to go through complete investigations, determine what's needed, and complete the sale if that's appropriate.
I also have some concerns, as well, the unknowns. We're all in agreement that we need a fire station. I would like to be a little bit more involved in the other locations as well, if that would be okay. And I'm not comfortable right now where we're at, and get a little bit more information. And I've also been contacted by a lot of firemen as well. And, I mean, we all agree there's issues with the old one. So, I'd like to get some more information on the car wash as well.
Madam Mayor, if I may.
Yes, please.
So, it's our job to appoint a manager and assistant manager and to get people in charge to make these decisions as it relates to our financial spending of our city. To this point, I feel they've done a really great job in terms of keeping our books balanced. We were presented the different properties, as I understand, and through the information you all were given, you felt that this was the best option. Again, I've heard from several residents that have actually been in favor of the moving of the fire station in terms of the new location. And I understand the concerns of the firefighters because that's where they work. I'm not disagreeing with that. But again, we're worried about unknowns, but I also feel they're probably worried about unknowns because you don't know what you're going to get. But when looking at comparing the greater good versus what we don't have, and we were told about a lot of the issues with our current fire department, I feel like it is worth noting that this is an opportunity for us to provide to them something better. And it hasn't been built yet, so it isn't like we have stuck to what we're doing in terms of not being able to hear anything we might need in addition to make the transition more comfortable. So I understand wanting to see these different locations. I know that the car wash location I was also in favor of initially. But as I understand, we've had ideas for that before that fell through because of issues as it relates to the remediation process. So I think that's just something to take into consideration when deliberating your vote.
Yeah, just a couple things about the car wash is that, yeah, I mean, it went to a similar stage in what we're at here with the parking authority. And the remediation cost was such that it was not a good idea to purchase that property.
And we weren't the ones that made that decision.
What's that?
It was our administration that made that decision. They recognized.
Yeah, and
the financial concerns.
And I think it's a lot, the kind of use case that they had just for that space for the parking authority was largely the same as what it is now. And this would be like a complete tear down, and there were diesel tanks under that thing. Like, it's not a good site for it. I mean, I think we also talked about the ingress and egress from there would be dangerous for a firefighter. So, just in terms of just the car wash space, having heard about that we were super excited about it on Parking Authority for a while. Because it was just cool, like, to have a good spot for them to, like, wash their vehicles and have all their equipment that they need, because that's a constant problem that they have on Parking Authority is them having a place to, like, store equipment and sort of deal with their vehicles in a lot of ways. And it was so, for Dana to kind of, like, turn his back on that should tell you something. And again, like, we reached kind of this stage with it and left it behind because of the remediation issues and what that led to with the seller. So for that specific site, just want to speak to, like, it is not to my mind, in my opinion, a feasible option, having gone through that already once with another body that I saw.
I just want to clarify, I am not saying that I'm in favor of going back to site visits and things like that. We've gone through that, and I trust that administration did the due diligence on that. My issue is I take very seriously council being partially responsible for maintaining budget and setting budget and spending budget. And there's just a lot of unknowns on the final cost of this for me to be comfortable at this time. If we went through the additional environmental study phase 2 and kind of had a ballpark, and this is what remediation might cost if we had a consultant looking at that, if we knew, yeah, this is really bad, or maybe not as bad as we thought. We know that the car wash is not great.
Yeah.
I am not arguing that. I'm just uncomfortable with what I don't know about this property that we do know about the car wash. So just to clarify.
But the way it's been presented to this point is that this process that we would vote on establishes the go forward, which would take us to a point where we could be at a point where the cost of remediation is a walkaway, that we can say, no, it's too much, and we're not going to do it. So we're not promising to pay an unknown amount beyond what we feel is reasonable. We can walk if we need to. And, you know, it's city administration's job. We oversee that, but I don't want to micromanage the city administration either.
May I speak to the process, please? We touched all the bases. You know, we went out and we got consultants who were appropriate in their knowledge in terms of making these decisions. We didn't focus in on one site. We had 5 different sites that we looked at. We brought together appropriate people. Obviously, we didn't go out and pull every fireman that we had, but we did bring in their leadership, and hopefully their leadership is speaking for their community. In terms of remediation, I'm sorry, but that's an old thing for us in this city, whether it's in White Park or down at MUB or even along Beechhurst Boulevard. I mean, we run into this all the time. The idea that you go out to Saberton, we capped over major environmental problems there and put in, what is it, the farm store. This is not new to Morgantown. The process was correct. The decision that we made is well-founded. And as Dave has indicated, this is a go forward, not necessarily a done deal. So I can't see that we should stand in the way.
Yeah.
I was just going to say one final comment. I do appreciate, Danielle, you tagging that additional cost, and I do think it's important for us to be kept apprised of that. And so I think that's like, it's an important thing to intimate to our city administration.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate that.
So this has been a long vetting process of looking at response times for these different properties. And I think originally there were more than 5, and then it got narrowed down. There might have been 11 or 12 or something, and then got narrowed down to 5. And they looked at response times from lots that were not anywhere near where this lot is, which would have been not anywhere near a neighborhood, or, you know, that would have been really poor from a response time point of view, but maybe larger. And when we're dealing with, as in the Richwood project, when we're dealing with redevelopment of properties, there are some unknowns that I think our city management has gone through, like the phase 1 and getting ready to complete the phase 2, that we have been responsible and as an overall entity, including city council and everyone asking appropriate questions and getting appropriate answers, I think we have determined that this would be a good time to say, please move this forward, because then we can complete the expensive tasks and then decide whether this is the final yes or whether there needs to be some kind of reassessment. So at some point, we need to move forward. And this may not be the perfect site, but it has been a site that has been vetted and is a legitimate site for further consideration. So I would be voting yes at this time. I think that we're at a good point for saying yes, and then we ask to be in on looking over the environmental assessment and making sure that we feel comfortable. But at this stage, I would say yes, so we can keep moving forward. We already have funds toward this, and it's time to keep it moving, from my point of view.
Can I ask a clarification on that then? Why is this here now? Like logistically, what is happening now before the environmental study is completed at the end of February that has to be voted on now if we're not going to make the purchase until we're certain that environmental study comes back favorable?
It's an indication, I would say, that we're in favor of it so that it's worth it to keep moving forward, but.
Yes, this is, so City Council's processes to adopt an ordinance, take some time and planning, obviously. So that's why the ordinance authorizing the purchase was presented to council in January. The original end of the city's inspection and feasibility review period was January 4th. That's been extended by agreement of the parties to February 29th to allow the second phase of the environmental study to be completed. And then the parties are scheduled to close within 30 days after the end of the inspection date.
So are we comfortable voting on this at this point? Yes?
I call for the question.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Buganum,
Yes.
Bill Kolecki,
Yes.
Weiss Michael,
No.
Danielle Trumbull,
No.
Dave Harshbarger,
Yes.
Brian Butcher,
Yes.
and Mayor Celine.
Yes. Passes 5-2. Appreciate everyone's consideration, and we will continue to keep people in the loop as we have information. Is that appropriate to say? All right. Item D is consideration of approval of an ordinance suspending enforcement of subsections E and J of section 1331.0627 of the City Code. The first reading was 1/2/2024, and I was wondering if the city attorney would give us a little bit on this one.
Yes, Mayor. The ordinance before council proposes suspending enforcement of these two particular subsections of a supplemental regulation within the city code. The supplemental regulation relates to restaurant private club uses in the B1 and the B4 districts, which are the neighborhood business districts and commonly the downtown area and the wharf district. The B4 is the downtown business district. In those districts, private clubs are not allowed, but restaurant private club uses are allowed by conditional use permit issued by the Board of Zoning Appeals. Supplemental Regulation 27 provides several conditions on those uses that are in general designed to ensure those operations are restaurants rather than bars, in keeping with the city's comprehensive plan and intention for the character of those neighborhood business district and downtown business district areas. Some of those subsections are fairly granular in how they regulate the business operation. These two in particular provide that no more than 40% of the food and beverage sales revenue of any business in any given month can derive from sales of alcohol, and provide that the businesses have to make quarterly reports to the finance department demonstrating that. As noted in the ordinance text, both the enforcement of those regulations and compliance for businesses or projecting compliance for businesses is problematic in that revenue splits for those types of things on intervals are not entirely within businesses' control, and the type of monitoring and reporting by the finance department is not something the city commonly uses integrated into planning and zoning codes. Overall, it seems like from what our downtown business community is saying, those regulations have more of a deterrent effect on attracting the type of restaurant businesses that the city is seeking in the area. And the city is in the process, in coordination with the Planning Commission, of trying to update those regulations wholesale to provide something that ensures we have a diverse mix of uses in the downtown area, but regulates in a way that allows some certainty for businesses and for the city in regulating. And this ordinance proposes suspending enforcement of those two subsections pending that larger scale update that the Planning Commission has begun working on.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. And then, do people have questions or concerns with this?
This was also on the work session
I was
for, for the Planning Commission.
I was going to suggest that that was the case, yes. Thank you for bringing that up.
A regular agenda had a request from City Council for the commission to give advice on enforcement, and they declined to take a stance on that and felt that was out of the Planning Commission's jurisdiction. But during the work session, this was one of the topics that we discussed, and just like the I assume we will be going over the requirements for liquor licensing in more detail at an imminent meeting.
You got your work cut out for you.
Fortunately, we won't be doing exactly licensing, but something like that.
I've spoken for years with the attorney and with Director Yeager, and we've had a lot of different ideas for different ways to restrict or regulate, and I'm intrigued to see what the Planning Commission ends up recommending.
You've got a good brain trust there.
Zoning is always an interesting conversation.
So, good for the question?
Yes.
All right.
Deputy Mayor Abuganam,
Yes.
Bill Kowecki,
Yes.
Louise Michael,
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull,
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger,
Yes.
Brian Butcher,
Yes.
and Mayor Celine.
Yes, passes unanimously. Boards and commissions, I believe we have one appointment this evening.
That's me too. I move that we appoint Michelle Johnson to the Woodburn Commission.
Second.
Thank you. By acclamation? Yep. All right. And now we're on to the public portion. This is the public portion which shall be subject to rules established by council and adopted by resolution. So this is the time when, if you're wanting to speak about any subject that you choose, and you would be stating your name and your address for the record. And I don't know if we have anybody running the timer. All right, we have a timer person. So there's little red lights, green lights. Anyway, there's the stoplight colors right there. So we're gonna open the public portion. And if there's anyone wishing to speak on any subject, please. Did you have the list?
Anybody sign up?
Oh, thank you. There's a list, but I think some of them,
Peter's already gone.
Haley Day? Yep. And Garrett? Yeah, you can speak on any other subject if you're interested. Annie and Madison High, if you have any other subject, you're welcome to. Okay, so we have Annie Cronin York.
Annie Cronin York, 7th Ward. On behalf of the Human Rights Commission, thank you for finally appointing a new commissioner. When I say finally, that's not in the rude way. Just finally that people have started applying, and that's great. There are 2 more scheduled to interview with you, and we would very much appreciate it if you appoint them. That would be great. Now to take off that hat and put on my personal hat. My recycling didn't get picked up, and my garbage can got left open again. But that's not it. Handicap parking downtown. I went downtown on Friday to meet with somebody who's interested in interviewing for the commission, or being an intern, after her interest. And I put my usual parking thing in my windshield. But when I got out of my Jeep, I tripped on the curb, as one does. And then I had to go around to the back of the Jeep to get out my walker. There's no recessed curb. Where I'm in a wheelchair, I would have to go out into traffic, go on the far side of my Jeep, head down half a block to get a recessed curb, to come back to put money in the meter, which is too tall to read if one is in a wheelchair, and pay $1 for an hour, which I think is asking a bit much. Because I tripped, I was not willing to go back to get the money out of my car. I got a ticket. These things happen. When I first moved here, there weren't any meters in handicap spaces, and then they showed up. I understand that there was a reason for that, but I also understand there's a way to get around that reason. And Mr. Butcher can maybe help me out what the reason was why that they had to be metered, unless you forgot.
I'm not supposed to respond.
Oh, okay.
Unless the mayor would like me to suspend the rules, I can't explain.
You can just talk about it later. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. But it's just very difficult. And if you're in a wheelchair, I'm not. But even my personal issues, it's tough enough getting around, trying to get to a meter when you're in a wheelchair especially. It's just asking too much when the meter is up here, the person is down there. And you can't see how much it costs. You just put a lot of money in and have no idea how much time you're getting because you can't see what's there. So I would rather they be removed altogether. But if they must be there, I know there's one in front of the courthouse that's down lower that is more accessible. That would be good. But it seems like they're all new, and it would have been nice to have them taken into account. But also the recessed curbs are a huge obstacle. Having to lift everything to get from the back of your transport up to the curb to use the sidewalk. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we've gone through the list, but if there's anyone else that's wishing to speak for any reason, this is your time. Otherwise, in a minute, we will close the public portion, but we like to make sure that everyone who wishes to speak has an opportunity. So we're going to close this public portion, and then we're going to move down to new business. We have consideration of approval of first reading of an ordinance establishing a private outdoor designated area, a PODA. Used to be called DORA, which was a lot prettier name. And so is that something that the manager wishes to speak about?
I'll say a few words and then turn the time over to Mr. Simonton.
Yes.
He's been
crafting.
Instrumental in helping draft legislation forward, and also in bringing together the different factions that are going to be impacted by this. The city, all of us, have been attempting over the last 2 or 3 years to enhance the downtown area, to make it more functional and more attractive to families, to businesses, to events, to attract business to the downtown and make it allow it to continue being a vibrant downtown. One of the things that we talked about probably a year and a half ago, was the old Dora. We called it the Dora back then, but because that's I think what they called it in Ohio. They implemented it in Ohio, and it was very successful. It's been changed to PODA, don't get them confused, but the concept is the same, and that is to allow flexibility in a designated area that the city designates for the carrying of open beverage containers, alcohol containers, and that increases the opportunity for downtown activity, for festivals, street festivals, and other activities in the downtown, and just kind of makes it a much more relaxing, kind of less harsh environment. And so certainly city administration and members of council have been very involved in this whole process, and to try to see if there was a way that we could make this work and work with the downtown business owners who would be impacted by this. And I'll turn the time over to Mr. Symington, because there's some nuances, and I think we've gotten through some of those.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So, as the city manager said, this ordinance creating a private outdoor designated area is based on state legislation passed last session. Councilor Trumbull, Delegate John Williams, and our other local delegates were instrumental in presenting that to the state legislature and ultimately getting it passed as part of a larger alcohol law reform bill. So it has now been in place for a while. Huntington, Charleston, and now Parkersburg are also moving forward with these initiatives. This ordinance will create the district in Morgantown, and then licensed bars and restaurants within the district will be able to apply for a permit from the city to participate, and if allowed, will be able to get a license from the Alcohol Beverage Control Administration to do so, and those businesses will be able to serve drinks that patrons can then take out and travel with around the community as they do their shopping or just gathering in public places. The basic district created here is a single district covering downtown and the Wharf District. So generally downtown between Willie Street and Foundry Street, and between Spruce Street and Chestnut Street, and then kind of traveling down Walnut Street across to the Wharf District between Walnut Street and down the rail trail to the Marriott Hotel. The operating hours for the district are set during the week from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. and on the weekends from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. To allow for brunch service as well. The scheduled starting date for this is May 15th, which will give some time for the city and Main Street and bar and restaurant operators to work out details about how cups will be used, how security will be provided, and other operations for the district. If there are questions about details or any of those things, I'd be happy to answer them. We did, Councilor Trumbull and Development Director Yeager and I met with Main Street Morgantown and several interested restaurant and bar operators last Thursday, and they had some of those suggested changes regarding start date and operating times. So they continue to be engaged and working to support this initiative. As I said, I can address any questions as well.
And right now, the text matches the map.
Yes.
So that's, well, whenever there's been a lot of changes, then that's a tough, tough to make that work. So that's appreciated.
Just to clarify, in our packet it says Thursday, Friday from 4 to 10, but you were saying Monday through Thursday, or Monday through Friday, 4 to 10, and then the weekend would be 10 to 10?
I apologize.
That's all right.
I think it is Thursday. Did it get changed?
That's my mistake. It is, you're correct. It's Thursday and Friday from
Okay.
4 to 10,
Yeah.
and then would not be operating Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in this draft. I mean, this ordinance is on first reading. If it would be preferable to have it operating week-long, that's certainly a change that could be made.
No, thanks, that's fine, thank you.
Are there the issues of liability and whether or not our taverns could participate. That's still something that's within at the legislature, not something we can deal with at the moment.
That's correct, Counselor. The participation is limited by state law to licensees that hold a license to serve liquor on the premises. And there is a provision in the state law that requires that all participating licensees are joint and severally liable for violations with respect to their Alcohol Beverage Control Administration license. So potentially an agent of the Alcohol Beverage Control Administration could impose a penalty on a participating restaurant or bar for a violation that they may not have been directly involved in. Those are definitely concerns. Those are concerns we talked about on Thursday as well, and that you all, council, talked with your legislators about. So there are certainly people working on requesting changes to the law to address those things.
But locally, there's still some interest among the people who can participate, regardless of the liability.
I mean, there's certainly interest. There are operators coming to those meetings, and they, it seems to me, they see it as a good opportunity for their businesses. I know it has been in other cities. They also remain concerned about those liability provisions in particular.
I know it's functioning in Huntington and also Charleston, so I just wondered if we had local interest. However, we need to put it in place for that to assure that there'll be some interest, and work with the legislature to see if we can't get something better. Thank you.
Does anyone else have comments or concerns? I think this is a great initiative, and I'm glad that everyone's been working on it, and I would like to see us work with the legislature to make that liability change. But in the meantime, this is great, so.
Ryan and I have been in touch with Delegate Williams, who made it no secret that getting some changes to this were among his priorities for this session.
Hopefully he's got lots of partners. All right. If you would call. Pardon?
Move to approve.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Second.
All right. Good to keep that done correctly here. All right. Now we can call the question, unless somebody else has comment.
Deputy Mayor Abu-Ghanem,
Yes?
Bill Kolecki,
Yes.
Weeze Michael,
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull,
Yes.
Dave Harshbarger,
Yes.
Brian Butcher,
Yes.
and Mayor Celine.
Yes. Passes unanimously. On to the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple of items to update you that I think you'll be interested in. One is that our communications department is actively engaged in creating a list of positive projects and events that occurred within the city in 2023. The year in review document will be published and we'll give an actual presentation here in council to kind of accentuate some of the positive things that have happened within the city. Sometimes we don't do a real good job looking at the positive. We like to, I don't know why it's human nature to focus on things that are hard or that are negative, but we intend to certainly accentuate those. We also, this morning, we had a really good meeting with the Mon County Fire Committee that's involved. These are volunteer chiefs of volunteer fire departments regarding the fire levy that is going to be put before the voters. We reiterated at that meeting that Morgantown's intent is to support excellent fire services throughout the county. We're not focused simply on Morgantown, but we want to continue to support fire services inside and outside the county. We simply wanted to talk a little bit about the process, how it came about, and what the city can do to help with that process, and also what might be available to how the citizens of the municipality might gain some benefit from supporting the fire levy. So that was a great discussion, and that committee's going back to their members to try to come back with a proposal. The budget meetings, we intend to have some budget meetings with council, kind of like we did last year. We expect that the draft budget will be available and distributed to City Council the first or second week of February. That'll give you time to review it and what we'd like to do. I think last year it was really good. It gave an opportunity for informal discussions with 1, 2, 3 council members that came in. We could sit down and just kind of hammer it out and make whatever adjustments we needed to. We intend to do that again unless council has other input. You'd rather see another process, but we felt like that went really well, and we intend to do it that way, just for your information. Finally, let me suggest a couple of things. I know that snow is on our minds. Let me just remind us all that the city is responsible for 106 miles, to maintain 106 miles of road. And in that process, our crews have to identify certain corridors that are priority A's, B's, and C's. Obviously, the more traveled corridors and hills, for that matter, locations that pose some definite safety risk are our first priority. And on top of the 106 miles, we also clear 4 to 5, we talked about this morning, Mayor, 4 to 5 miles of state road. If we didn't do that, I'm not sure what it would look like. I know that Spruce Street was terrible this morning, but there were other state routes that were just as bad, and so we're trying to help facilitate with the state. Let me share with you kind of how it all kind of came about, because I know you're getting a lot of questions about it. Sunday morning, and talking to Damien, our city engineer and public works director, Sunday morning really caught our crews off guard a little bit, and that happens regularly. As long as I've been in this business, it's really hard to predict sometimes, as much as we like to look at the weather. It's not very accurate sometimes, and so they were caught a little bit off guard, and they had 2 crews out starting around 8 a.m. with 1 crew staying till late into the night. Monday, the city had 2 crews out starting at 2 p.m. and 2 crews throughout the night. This morning, we had all crews out starting at 6 a.m. That's 6 to 7 trucks that are out patrolling. And they were salting from 6 to about 8. Beginning at about 8 o'clock, as the snow began to accumulate, then they went out and started salting areas and making sure that the roads were clear. It continued to snow until around 10:30 a.m. At this point, the focus of the public works was on main routes and hills. By 12:30, main routes and hills were cleared to asphalt, and they began shifting their focus to secondary and tertiary routes. Tonight, as of tonight, we have 4 to 5 crews working until 10 p.m., at which point we will drop down to 2 crews overnight. And hopefully, with the extra crews this evening, we can continue treating the advanced and freezing that is supposed to be coming. The department is beginning pre-planning for Thursday night and Friday, which we're supposed to have another snow event, and we'll keep us all updated as that gets closer. I don't know if that helps you at all, but I think that gives you an idea of the kind of activity we're in. For those who were raised in Wisconsin or Connecticut, or places where heavy snow is pretty regular, it's not, I mean, to have a road clear to asphalt's almost unheard of. And I think we get used to asphalt driving. Unfortunately, there are events that come down, especially you think about the temperatures out there tonight, where it's virtually impossible to be able to clear the streets down until they start melting down to asphalt. And at such time, there needs to be an expectation among all of us that sometimes we're going to be driving on packed snow until the conditions present themselves that the treatment can start taking effect. That's kind of a nutshell report on snow removal. I think our folks are doing the best they can outside of hiring additional crews and temporary employees to come in and double our. I'm not sure what else we can do. I think we're certainly doing better than other organizations that I won't mention here tonight. So, thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Report from the city clerk. Thank you. Report from the city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. The legislative session has started, as we've discussed. If council members have questions about any pending legislation, I'll be happy to look at those for you. We're not doing any active tracking. The Municipal League does usually a very nice job of seeing what bills are affecting municipalities, but would be happy to look into anything you have questions about or see coming. The Municipal League meeting will be held in Charleston, I think February 11th to 13th. Our West Virginia Municipal Attorneys Association will also be meeting in conjunction with them, so I'll be attending that, and hopefully we'll see some of you there. That's all I have to report this evening.
Thank you. Reports from City Council. Do you want to start today?
Sure, so that Annie can leave if she wants to.
There we go. I didn't know there was a purpose to that, but there we go. I'm glad.
To answer your question, Annie, my understanding is the parking authority, when receiving bonds for their parking garage structures, was required by those bonds not to offer free parking. There are times in which the parking authority does not conduct enforcement. It should not be seen as free parking. But that is why there's a meter at those spaces. To answer the question you weren't asking, I guess, the handicap issue has been brought up a few times. I cannot specifically remember some of the barriers and hurdles that were brought up at those times, but I will find that out from Dana and let you know. Okay. Now you can leave. No. I guess just to reiterate what we kind of said, what I said in the last time we met is that I do appreciate when we have any members of the public coming out and speaking on any specific issue, and when they express their concerns. And I do believe that's a really important part of the public process, and I hope that people understand that their concerns were heard. And I did just want to reiterate that I did appreciate Councilwoman Trumbull's bringing up of the not being a part of the process after what kind of costs might be associated once we get into it. And I think the point that she was trying to get across, and I think you did, but maybe to put it more succinctly, is just that that there could be a separate expectation as to what is reasonable with the purchase that city administration might have as to what council might have. And so I would agree with that. And I would say that to that end, I would appreciate if council was just kept abreast of the situation. Beyond that, I do, I guess the other item on the agenda that I was frustrated by was just the Richwood project. And I worry still about the characterization that this project seems to be getting at every step of the way and every time it comes up in public discourse. Because there continues to be a very pointed expectation of the kinds of things that will be available at this site. And I wonder, it worries me every time that it comes up, because I wonder what's being said not to us. And I do worry about, after expressing several concerns, I had wondered if maybe somebody from the Development Authority had reached out. And I'm glad that they did with you. It, again, worries me even more that the rest of council wasn't spoken to about it afterwards. And I worry about the public perception versus how these developments go. And as the mayor and Bill, I think, said, we do hope that those citizens that were engaged on this now continue to be engaged on it as it goes along in the process. Tomorrow, we have Project Rainbow's grand opening ceremony at 123. I had said there was possibly going to be a nationally touring music act. That did not come through, so the possibly still stands true, I guess. But yeah, it didn't end up working out, so that was unfortunate. But there will be plenty of music acts and performances, and we hope that everybody from the community can come out and support their efforts to continue keeping that shelter open. On February 17th, we will be having homecoming out at the Wiles Hill Community Center gym. I'm excited about that venue. It seems like the perfect sort of place for that sort of thing. And I think everybody loves that community center, but anyway. And then I guess we also, so I think it was last week, Morgantown Pride paid the city twice for rental of space, but for the Wiles Hill Community Center. And then we also reserved the waterfront, the wharf, the amphitheater for June 15th. So we will have the block party again at the same place. I think this past year, having the block party there was probably the best venue we could have had it at, and it was perfect there. And if we could have it there every year, as long as it doesn't rain, it would be perfect. So it did rain a little bit last time, but not much. So we did secure that with Vincent, and so that'll be June 15th. I wanted to say to the city manager, Kim, I did enjoy the budget process last time, how we went about it, and I think that's a good way to do it.
Thank you.
That way again. The last thing, I guess I'll leave it on, is I learned how to drive in Chicago. And
That's a challenge.
and a lot of packed snow. A funny thing about Chicago is, like, if you have your car parked incorrectly, those plow trucks will plow through your car because there's no messing around with the snow plows in Chicago, because nobody can. It's really dangerous, if you don't get it plowed regularly. And yes, you drive on packed snow for like a month out there. It's not. It's just the way it is, and it's slushy and nasty. But anyway, with that being said, I think that there were definitely some good spots. It felt, just anecdotally, from communication from the community and just what I saw, I probably left my house at like 7 a.m. And then I had to go pick up a coworker near where you live around noon because they could not get out. And now they couldn't get out of a private road, and it was bad. But anyway. But just in those 2 times that I was out, it was definitely, it just did not, anecdotally, did not seem the same. And usually when these events do happen, honestly, what we hear most of the time is like how well our city streets are, and then how bad the state roads are. And like I'll even like talk to people on a consistent basis during those days, and they'll talk about, you know, well, the state road is bad or whatever. When I was at work today, we had several customers complain about what state road workers are paid. But anyway, so like I said, I do feel like something was different. Maybe it's worth like talking with our public works about it just to see if there was an anomaly in this occasion. It did feel like we were behind. I can say that from personal experience and from the complaints that we were getting. Just seemed, like I said, most of the time when these things happen, it's like, well, the city roads are great. Not so much everywhere else. And that'll conclude my comments. Thank you.
And kind of along the same lines, I was thinking that you listed an A, B, and C priority route. Maybe it'd be helpful to share that with us so that if we do get complaints, we can say we're focusing on these as a priority, these are next, and you are on a B or a C or whatnot.
That's a good idea, Dave, yeah.
So thank you if you can do that. So I'm happy to report that on January 3rd, our Assistant City Manager presented a design and cost plan to a handful of us and to Morgantown Utility Board on the cost of the bridge over and connecting White Park. There was a Morgantown Utility Board meeting on a week ago tonight, and we had a chance to informally discuss that. And then late last week, the general manager for the Morgantown Utility Board gave his approval from their standpoint, since they're paying for it, to authorize to move it forward. So the bridge is at that stage of approval. And so I guess it's now in Hope Park and the city's domain to keep it rolling. So I'm going to just stop on that one because I'm really excited about that.
There's nothing else to say. It's wonderful.
It's a 156-foot span, so that's actually lower than what a smaller length than what we thought it was going to need to be, because we thought it was going to have to be higher, but it can be a little lower and shorten the span. So, anyways, good news.
Do we have an attractive design?
Yeah, it's going to look very much like the Great Good Bridge, which goes from the rail trail to the Marilla Center. Sort of that wooden design.
Wood?
I'll send everybody
Glue
a
lamb.
picture of.
I'm sorry?
Glulium?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Different decking.
With
Different
metal railing,
decking and metal railing.
but
It's
not a
not
box
exactly.
culvert.
Well,
Not a box culvert.
That's good. You said bridge, and I thought I'd chime in saying.
Yes.
Design the thing so it's attractive. We want people to go out there and have a photo opportunity.
Yeah, it should be pretty.
Instagram.
Should be nice. It'll probably be done in 2025. I don't think there's a chance we'll get done this year, but next year.
My understanding of it.
It will be done in the near future.
If somebody can, expedite that process, wonderful.
That
You
wood
can
bridge,
convey
though,
that.
is a
Well,
little
I think
costly, isn't it? I shouldn't bring that up. Never mind.
It's the perfect price because it will get completed.
Okay. Okay.
that's all I have.
I'll
And we're
first
not
follow
paid.
up on what each of them said. I was very excited to see that MUB approved the bridge design. That's kind of been a sticking point in White Park, and I went to the MUB meeting last week to kind of prod it along a little and spoke during the public portion. So I was thrilled later in the week to see that MUB had approved, and hopefully we move forward this season so that it can be ready next year. To Councilor Butcher's point, I did receive a lot of comments and concerns about road maintenance today. And for anyone that I said, I'll reach out to the city administration and I'll get back to you. I just got my update, so I'm not going to get back to you tonight. I will touch base with everyone tomorrow with some of the things said, but I will reiterate my email today, and as Councilor Butcher said, normally when we have these types of events, I hear a lot about, state roads are awful, city streets are great, and today and on Sunday, it was definitely a mixed bag. So I do agree that it seems like something different was happening, but I understand staffing and all of that, and hopefully we don't get any more major snow things anytime soon, and we get all caught
Thursday.
up. Hopefully we can get down to asphalt before it snows again. With these temperatures, who knows? Speaking of these temperatures, the warming shelter, the cold weather shelter, is open tonight for the first time. They are anticipating opening the sobering center overflow space. Right now, while sitting here, I got an update. They are at capacity in the Bartlett House space and ready to move into the sobering center space should anyone else present. So there are still 15 beds available. It is very frigid outside. By all means, please get indoors. One update from H3, I was asked to share some stats on the Day Services Center. In December, they had 196 visits from clients. They did 58 loads of laundry, offered 47 showers, and provided 10 clients with coats and shoes through the Day Services Center. So it's definitely being used, and each month they are seeing higher and higher numbers. So much so that we just made purchase of a third set of commercial washers and dryers. Those should be installed any time now, is my understanding. Plowing, shelter, day room. Oh, the Woodburn Association of Neighbors meets tomorrow, Wednesday, January 17th at 7 p.m. at the Woodburn Community Complex, the old Woodburn School. We're discussing election of officers as well as a zoning text amendment for the neighborhood business district. So if you have thoughts about that or the Richwood redevelopment project, by all means, please come and share with the neighborhood association. Other than that, I would just again like to ask politely for a city charter review subcommittee. I have now been asking for more than 6 months, and I think it is time that we develop a committee to look at various aspects of our charter, and I would politely request to be included on that.
Thank you.
I don't have a whole lot tonight. I did want to mention the roads again, and I wish there was something the city could do to work with the state, or I'm on a night shift, and my job is, I spend my entire shift patrolling streets and back roads and everything, and it's just so dangerous. There's just nothing being done from the state's point. And the city, I always compliment the city. The city is, because I'm on the roads all night. And, the cities are always well maintained. WVU does an excellent job. And WVU is kind enough to help out, even city roads and state roads when we have problems. But I have concerns, and I wish we can do something more with the state and maybe write more letter. I mean, I'm willing to write a letter every day if I have to. But I feel like we don't get anywhere with them. And it's, I wish our representatives could help us out more as well. But I don't really have anything else to talk about, so. All you, Bill.
Thank you. Couple things. Well, one is that we have lots of things in process that are very hopeful, but always kind of questionable. It really requires some oversight as we go along. We need our community to participate, and we're lucky enough to have that kind of participation, both with our neighborhood associations, but also with people who are concerned. With WVU certainly always has been a partner. We have some good suggestions. An example was at the last Green Team meeting. Green Team were reviewing some processes, some things with First Energy, and they were concerned with solar, but they were also looking into the cost increases that were being requested from the PSC, and found that the city itself could come up with a 20% increase in the cost of our streetlights. And I know we have a considerable number of streetlights. I'd be curious to know exactly how many and what we do pay, and whether or not there's whether or not we should be down knocking on the PSC door saying, 20% seems to be extreme. I think the Green Team thinks that. So anyhow, I encourage community involvement. Like I said, we have numbers of things that are very hopeful in process, but that requires all of us just pushing to make these things to go the way we need to have them go. And one comment about the snow. At least it filled in the holes on Route 7.
That is always.
There you go.
Always looking on the bright side,
That's
Bill.
right.
Wow.
You are correct about that.
Wow. Cool.
Joe, it's all yours.
All me, thank you.
All you.
Let me start by saying that Sister Cities got some artwork from our sister cities out in Zhaozhou, China, and I can never say it correctly, so I'm sorry if I butchered that. I apologize. But we got the Han Dynasty stone rubbings exhibit, and we are putting them on display at the Eureka Gallery where's the Eureka Cafe?
Wiles Hill Community
Wiles Hill,
Center.
thank you. I didn't want to misspeak. At Wiles Hill. And so please go check it out. We had a few of the artworks on display at the high school for the students to see. They're really neat. They're very large. Thank you to our city manager for helping us with some of the displays in terms of plexiglass and everything to keep the artwork protected. I also feel it's important to acknowledge that our meeting for the First Ward neighborhood is usually in January, but now that we are quarterly, the next one is not until March 25th at MTech. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that it's not this coming Monday, and it will be in March. And then lastly, to reiterate some of the things that Councilor Butcher had said, I do appreciate everybody coming out and expressing their concerns and their opinions. It's not that I know that a lot of these issues are really important to a lot of people for a lot of different reasons. I can't begin to claim to know exactly how closely these things hit home for all of them, but I am listening with a sympathetic and empathetic ear, and hopefully that doesn't deter them from coming back and expressing expressing their opinions and thoughts in the future, and continuing to send me emails to let me know about anything that they may be for or against. Usually I feel people only reach out when they're against something. I'd love to hear about the things that we're doing well so that we can continue with those things as well as add on to them. And that's it. Everybody stay warm, and there's no school tomorrow.
Good to know. I think we need to keep up our communication with the state with regard to roads and plowing, and just make a polite but firm request for plowing, and a reminder that we have 2 medical facilities, and that people need for them to be activated and be able to take in people who may be subject to accidents. we need to have our medical personnel be able to reach, and our medical personnel come from the entire region. So we just need to make sure that they're thinking about us and that we've stated that we're willing to work together, and that we do continue to plow when we can, but that we have our own roads to take care of, and that we really would appreciate whatever additional assistance they can provide. I did see some state vehicles out that had plows. I don't know how much plowing they were doing, and I definitely saw them salting. And we just need their help. Really important. And I did note that WVU was taking the snow off of the sidewalks with a really cool machine with a brush, all along Beechhurst. So I think WVU is also, as was mentioned earlier, doing their part. So we just need the state to step up. It's a safety issue.
We have one of those, right? I saw it last year. We have one. We have a brushing sidewalk
No,
machine.
especially.
We
I
do on
think-
bridges in particular.
Yeah, and especially the parking authority has some good equipment like that. But yes, we do that too. But it's just when you're seeing the university nicely doing the sidewalk, that's obviously the sidewalk right next to the state road. It's and not necessarily the full route into campus, but along the edge, but an important route. I attended the Martin Luther King Day Unity Breakfast at the in the ballroom at the university, and noted a large number of people there, and did not realize that registration was required, but they had 3 tables in the back that we were allowed to go sit in. So there I was. And actually, it was kind of fun sitting in the back, anyway, it's not always fun to sit in the back for Martin Luther King Day. But anyway, it was a lovely event and very well attended, and always memorable because they have a local honoree who gives a small speech, and then they bring in someone else who gives a longer speech, and it just is thoughtful. I'm always taking notes, and it just is a really thoughtful, great event. Appreciate the student government being here this evening, representatives of the student government, not the entire, but appreciate them being here and their thoughtful comments. I think we do need to look at not only the days when people are in college, but the days right after in the next 10 years following college, where someone might go off somewhere else, but then want to come back or want to remain, and how we can be a vibrant community for everyone, and keep people who are retirees interested in living here, keep people who have families in the neighborhoods, the Wells Hill neighborhood with their community center, the Woodburn neighborhood with their community center, anyway, we just really have a lot of great things going on, and need to continue to think about thoughtfully the transitions between university and city, and the way that we interact and provide not only businesses, but the housing that people are talking about in this area. Housing above the businesses. Let's see. So we have this letter that the Green Team provided to Public Service Commission about this 20% street lamp increase. Seems like we should, I can help work up a letter from the city in that regard also, to make sure that we're on record. against that. And I think that's plenty for me for today, so.
Move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Wow.
We're done.